So now I'd like to move on to something called KPI Dynamics. And this might put all the small pieces together for you. So on the left side, you have generic, specific, and behavioral. And on the lower axis, you have leading and lagging indicators, right? So let's take an example. If you think about accounting KPIs, like, your income and expense statement, you have your cash balances, that, as you already know, it's a lagging indicator because it's after the fact. It's purely a book entry activity, right? There's nothing you can do beyond that. So it's not a leading indicator. Then you look at what KPIs that they would excite investors. So typically, you've got things like daily active users, monthly recurring revenue, number of signups per day, and monthly burn rate of your cash. So this is typical questions that I, as an investor, would ask. And then you have management KPIs. KPIs that actually you as a CEO or CTO really need to pay attention to, because you can't get the net cash balance if you don't start the journey with those management KPIs. So that could be very specific to your business, right? So let's take a business which maybe is involved in social media, and it could be, for example, the number of new posted pictures per day, or the number of users posting not the first, second, third, but the seventh picture. That shows retention, that shows stickiness of that particular audience, or the number of impressions per day. So this is just a very specific example of a particular business. But in your business, think of those 3 to 5 management KPIs that could be specific and behavioral. Now, if you look across this entire diagram, you can also see the Y and X axis is how they interplay, being generic and behavioral. And you can see that the ones which are generic are also generally tend to be lagging, and they're very much to do with more accounting type KPIs. So when you do get a due diligence from a legal due diligence from a investor, a lot of the indicators are going to be accounting type KPIs. But at the point when an investor is really looking at whether this company has got potential for growth, they tend to look at active users, they look at signups, monthly burn rates, etc. So understand that there's an interplay between behavioral to generic and then leading to lagging. And that's the point I like to make here, that you can figure this one out. So kind of wrap this up a little bit is take a moment to write down what do you think are the value KPIs, and I define value as your cash balance, the number of customers you have, the total number of downloads you have, the number of product or features you have, IPs that you have. Those are value that you create, but it doesn't necessarily suggest growth. On the flip side of that, you have the growth KPIs, for example, like the retention rates of customers, the month-on-month growth in terms of revenue, or the number of customer acquisitions, or the lead or prospect in your pipeline, and the rate of growth on that. So those are the growth KPIs that you like to think about. So take a minute just in silence to think about your own individual company value KPIs and growth KPIs.